We are taking chapter number 3, Nazism and the rise of Hitler. So we are taking question and answer on Nazism and the rise of Hitler. First question is, describe the problems faced by the Weimar Republic. So the Weimar Republic formed the German government after the First World War, which Germany lost miserably. The Republic faced two kinds of problems. First is the economic crisis. The war had been very costly because Germany has taken debt for it. The damage and human casualties, along with the post-war depletion of resources, consequent debts, and war compensation, this led to this crisis. Then there was hyperinflation. This made the German mark, which was the currency of Germany, valueless and caused immense hardship to the German people. Then political crisis. Although the National Assembly framed a democratic constitution, it was very weak. Proportional representation and the Article 48, this resulted in the creation of political crisis and finally the death of the Weimar Republic. Discuss why Nazism became popular in Germany by 1930. I'll just give you an example that you are a kid, you want something. You go to your father and he doesn't give you the thing you want. Then what you'll do? You'll go to your mom. Same thing happened. When the German, they wanted something from the government, that is the Weimar at that time, they didn't get it. So they went to Hitler because this was the option being provided to them. So Nazism became popular after defeat in the First World War. Germany was forced to sign off harsh and the humiliating Treaty of Versailles, in which it was made to accept the guilt of the war, because Germany was thought as the key or the main force which actually started the war. And this all was showered upon Germany, that you have done this, you have done this. So the Germans felt disgraced and humiliated. So they were made to believe by Hitler's oratory, because Hitler was a great orator, that he would restore Germany to its former glory, which they lost here. Political parties like the Communists, the Socialists and Democrats were not united. There were conflicts between them. The government became weak. Now the Nazi government took advantage of this situation and captured the power. Democracy in Germany was relatively very new and not very strong. It didn't appeal Germans because they were at that time very nationalistic. They wanted a party and a system that would re-establish the glory and the prestige of their country, which is Germany. So they were attracted to the Nazi party. Hitler was a great orator. He has a very good personality, not physically, but as a whole. When he speaks, with his speeches, he was able to sway the masses and win their confidences. He was able to convince them with his words and the way he conveys certain messages, that he will actually undo the injustice being done on the German people, and he will bring back the glory and the dignity of the Germans. So he promised employment for those looking for work. He won over the youth by promising them a secure future. He got the support of the army also, the industrialists, the landlords, because he opposed the communism and socialism, which these people also opposed. This is how Hitler and the party he belongs, the Nazi party, were able to win the support of all the sections of Germans, and that is how they became popular. What are the peculiar features of Nazi thinking? Nazis believed in the idea of one people, one empire, and one leader. They didn't tolerate other parties, and they tried to crush all the organizations in the party and wanted to remove the social communism and democracy from the Germany. According to Nazism, there was no equality between people. There are grades of people. Highest of them are the blonde, that is blue-eyed Nordic German Aryans, and at the last, that is at the lowest rung, are Jews. So this is how they think that the people are not equal and they are the best. It was propagated that the Jews, Yehudi, were responsible for the economic misery of the Germans. Nazis also propagated war and they glorified the aggression. They believed their idea of Lebensraum, on living space, that is, new areas should be acquired because they wanted the Germans to settle, gain more resources. For that, acquiring land is a good idea. Nazis want to create a separate radical community of pure, clean Germans by physically eliminating all those who were seen undesirable by them. Even the Germans, some Germans, those are not mentally or physically, they have some problem, they are also undesirable. Nazis believed that Jews were inferior and they were the main cause of misery. That is, Jews needs to be totally eliminated. The Nazi argument was very simple. The strongest race, they took the idea of Darwin's theory. The strongest race would survive and the weak should perish. The Aryan race, that is the race they belong to, were finest, and they should do something to retain the purity, become stronger, and dominate the world. This is Nazis' outlook. Explain why Nazi propaganda was effective in creating a hatred for Jews. Now, how because even the Jews started thinking that we are like this because of the propaganda. The Nazi propaganda was effective in creating hatred for the Jews for these reasons. That is, the Jews were stereotyped as killers of Christ. They had been barred since medieval times from ownership of land. So this is written, from the you can say religious point of view, that these Jews, they have killed the Isa Masih, the Christ, Jesus Christ. They were already hated as the usurers and money lenders. Violence against Jews, even inside their residential ghettos, they were very common. So Hitler's race theories fanned this hatred. He propelled this hatred. He wanted all Jews to be eliminated from the German soil. Explain what role women had in this Nazi society. We need to return to, or know about French Revolution. What were the place of women there? Write a paragraph comparing and contrasting the role of women in the two periods. So, role of women in Nazi society was modeled on the principle of largely this patriarchal or male-dominated society. So, Hitler hailed women as most important citizens, but this was limited to only Aryan women who bred pure blood desirable Aryans. Motherhood was the only goal they were taught to strive for, in addition to performing the duties of managing household and being good wives. This was in total contrast if you see the role of women in French Revolution, where women actually led the movement. They fought for the right of education, and right for equal wages as men were getting. They could not be forced to marry against their will. They could also train for jobs, become artists, and run small businesses. Schooling was made compulsory for them, elementary schooling. In what ways did Nazi states seek to establish total control over the people? Hitler, when he came to power, he emerged as a powerful dictator. He destroyed the democracy in Germany. The first fire decree in 1933 suspended the civic rights like freedom of speech, press, assembly, and thus controlled the German population. The Enabling Act was passed. It gave all powers to Hitler to sideline the parliament and the rule of decree. All political parties except the Nazi party were banned. All political opponents were imprisoned or assassinated. So the communists were suppressed and sent to concentration camps. Social security forces like SA, SS, SD, and Gestapo were created to control and order society in the ways the Nazis wanted to be. And these forces were given extra constitutional powers. In school, children were taught to be loyal and submissive, hate and worship Hitler. Nazi youth organizations like the Jungvolk and Hitler Youth were created where the youth were taught to worship war and Hitler hate democracy and communism and Jews. Media was used carefully, very judiciously to win the support for Hitler and Nazism. So Nazi ideas were spread through visual image, films, radio, posters, catchy slogans, and leaflets. So these were the question and answer of this topic. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.